Greetings in the love and light of the infinite creator. I'm Andrii, and joined here with Fred, Ed, and Adam. And we will be reading part 2 of the April 22 session, and it's going to be about Biondha. All right. So we are Biondha, and we are now with this instrument. It is with great joy and pleasure that we join this group in this intentional practice of seeking, of learning, of growing, and of discovering more of the Creator within the self and without the self. We would ask if there is a query to which we may speak. Austin. Yes, Biondha, thank you. I have a question about the nature of God as Christians identify, and particularly in Christian mysticism. And my main question is, in my perception, I don't know if this is objectively true, but when I read about Eastern or non-Western mystical traditions and how they consider the mystical unity of nature and mystical experiences, there's not as much an emphasis on a God or creator God within that experience. Whereas in Christian mysticism, there's a heavy emphasis on God and God's nature in the process in mystical experiences. For instance, God is said to give us grace. Grace is a gift from God. And even in my recent readings, Thomas Merton talks about the contemplative state, which I think is a mystical state, being given to the individual by God, and that it is not something that is accessed by the individuals themselves, but as a gift from a being called God. Could you expand on that and on the difference between those and help me understand the nature of the Creator and God as an active agent in the process of seeking? Biondha. We are Biondha, and we are aware of and appreciative of this query, my brother. This entity, which those in the various religions have identified as God, is, as you know, simply a label to a larger creation that one dances within. In certain spiritual schools, there was felt a need to separate the self from the creator self by defining the creator self as the God. This was an intentional act for the seeker to establish reverence and appreciation, to incentivize the seeker to seek more towards the service to others path. It was an act of inspiring the seeker to look outside of itself, to see the beauty and the wonder about one, and to find appreciation and respect for that which is outside of the self. And in this differential, the seeker can further establish the values and the practices of praise and worship that, with time and with devotion, can be brought inward to look at the self. However, when powers that become intertwined with this establishment of a creator self outside the self, it was easy for that label self, creator self, to be used as a stand in for a manipulation tactic, a figurehead which is not only to be respected but to be feared, and that there is always and ever consequences for one's actions, and that those consequences are not only in service to spiritual evolution, but towards that which has been called damnation, and damnation on an eternal level. It is in this manipulation of the Godhead principle that the plot was lost, if you will. In the religions where there is no God per se, there is a creation about one that exists permanently and in an illusory sense. Then the seeker is motivated to seek towards experience, towards developing understanding for the creation without the potential benefit or cost of consequence. There is not this hovering source self that judges the actions of the smaller self. There is simply a creation that merely exists, that there is only flow and movement, and that there is no end destination, if you will, no heaven above or fire below, but that there is a presence of the incarnation in establishing the wholeness of self, the realization of self as an integral part of the creation. We apologize, for we fear we may have utilized a bit of this period to explain the two differences or the polarities of the religions that focus on a central God figure and those that do not heavily weight the figure as much. But we will say that there is an inherent active agent in your incarnation which can be seen as the God figure, insofar as each minute element and atom, each energetic vibration, each tiny speck of matter in this illusion is creator. Each piece of this play's creator is that God. And how it plays with itself, how it dances with its partners, is that active agent. There is no, what you may say, higher judgmental source and no lower beckoning source. It all exists on the same continuum, on the same playing field. It simply divides itself and cloaks itself in ways to create separate self, or at least to trick the self into experiencing self separately. And so, quite simply, we may state that there is God as an agent in the spiritual seeking, for everything is this figure that is God, and everything plays into the spiritual seeking as God. Now, how one approaches the figurehead that one may label as God can absolutely inform the seeking. There are many ways in which one can commune with God and can relate with God. In this Christian sense, as mentioned before, there can be fear of this God, that he who judges may close the gates to the heavens above if one's actions in this lifetime do not live up to his standard, to his image. And there's the opposite dynamic, where one views this creation with much joy and acceptance, forgiveness and gratitude, with an open heart, much as the figurehead, this God principle, created each in his image. We cannot say if there is a right way to interface with this creator known as God in the Christian sense. We can only say that all paths eventually lead to self realizing self as that Godhead, as that creator. The paths may wind, may take detours, may take scenic routes, may allow the self to experience more pain or more joy, but altogether provide fruitful catalyst, opportunities for further deepening and understanding of the truth beyond these boundaries set between God and self. And so relating to this, or self and God self. And so relating to this agent in your seeking known as God comes down to what feels true, what feels in service to the seeking self. Ultimately, that right, we correct this instrument, ultimately, that relationship may have its own ebbs and flows, may have its own bumps in the road, may witness its own heartbreak and its own moments of rediscovery and tenderness. But in striving towards understanding that God self, one is inherently walking that path of spiritual seeking. We would finally impart that if there is one piece to this Godhead figure of the Christian faith, Judaic faith, of these religious schools that establish this King of Kings, these holiest of holies, is that this creator is a creator of love, of grace, of acceptance, unconditionally so. There are no souls turned away, no souls banished, no souls punished. Creation is inherently devised and founded and produced and filled with love, filled with acceptance, filled with patience, and filled with connection. The God self that you may see created you, you in turn created it. We would ask if there's a follow-up to the query. No, thank you so much. All right. What do you guys think? Yeah, yeah.
So am I getting this correct? And basically the answer to the original question was pretty much no.
What do you phrase as the original question?
Trying to explain God through a Christian lens logically.
Okay.
That's kind of what he was asking.
Okay. So, well, I mean,
you're trying to ask a question about something that you're viewing from a lens of very distorted restriction. You know, God, in all reality, according to all of this, is everything everywhere all at once.
Yes. Yes. This is the message of most channeling, most service to others channeling everywhere and at all times.
I mean, how do you distill that down through the lens of Christianity without arguing the point that it's not all black and white correct.
Oh, well, here. There's here Bible Gateway. John 17:21. 17:21 to 22. That all of them may be one, Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. May they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. I have given them the glory that you gave me, that they may be as one as we are one. And thus we are all one, even according to Christianity.
Yeah, I've found that basically every single religion, no matter which one it goes, once you really get stuck in and start doing the reading, they'll say exactly the same thing. All of them give you a service to others path. They give you some kind of a positive, negative polarity basis. You know, like I'd argue that Eastern religions do have a creator God. The whole Brahmin, like is the Atman. You've got all these different layers where they do have creator gods. That it is pantheistic across the board. Christianity basically hides the pantheism, but it is there. You just have to know what to look for. I've always said across the board, yeah, that my main problem with Christianity is they gave God a personality. Now, a personality is basically small and tiny and limiting.
Well,
so why would they give it a personality? No, it's not. It can't be. We can't possibly conceive its personality if it did have.
I would just like to clarify that, at least in Christianity, that personality is congruent with what Biondha was saying, because it says God is love in the New Testament.
Yeah.
And that's basically exactly what they're saying in the Biondha text.
I kind of agree. I kind of agree with Biondha was saying across the board, but I think that in Christianity, that my main issue with it was that one fact. That I could not fathom how we could think that we could understand the mind of God. So that was one of my things. That was one of my fucking things. But then I start to realise that everything is God. You start to really get into pantheism, and you realise that God's everywhere at all times. He is everything happening all at once. So, once you get into that, then you start to realise, okay, wait a sec. There's hidden shit in the Bible that they'll say that. You just got to know what you're looking for.
Yes, well, God is love. And but I do agree that the Old Testament version, the God has...
That's the main thing I was talking about, really.
Yes, so that's the one that you were talking about, yes. And then there is some...
I mean, in the New Testament, God doesn't really say much.
Yes.
Does he?
Well, I mean, Jesus is the...
Jesus does. Jesus says loads. Yeah, but God doesn't say much. Old Testament, God says loads. And it's all horrible. Well, mostly.
Yes. Well,
it doesn't sound much like love to me. When Jesus turned around and said, God is love, that was him delivering grace. That was him changing the morphogenic field.
Yes. So here, in the Old Testament, as the Confederation explained, that Moses, even though it was explained to him how to challenge the spirits, by doing the Shema prayer, that we are all one and things like this, but he didn't test the spirits. And as a result of him not testing the spirits, eventually the entity he was speaking to, which initially was a service to others entity named Yahweh, turned into a service to self entity named Yahweh. And the service to self entity named Yahweh then gave a teaching of fear, anger, and control. And that's what gave us Leviticus and all of the genocide and all of that stuff. So the Old Testament is highly mixed, and it's actually known as, but based on AI and various analysis, it is the most violent religious scripture in the world.
I would agree. I mean, there's some pretty fucking crazy bits in the Islamic books as well, but
I disagree with that.
Hey, Fred. Oh, and hey, Bill. Okay, Fred, you want to explain yourself?
Well, I've read quotations from Muslim texts that indicate that it's actually necessary to deceive non-believers, to kill them, to out them, to do all kinds of terrible things.
Dude. There's some messed up stuff in that book.
Yeah,
Like
Old
seriously, the
Testament
Quran's got
has
some
all
crazy
that
bits in it.
too.
I
Yeah,
understand
true.
that, but if you're labeling it as the most violent, I don't know.
Yeah, they included the Quran in the analysis. It was like something like 5%.
A very close second.
5% of verses in the Old Testament are violent or promoting violence, and only about 2.5% in the Quran, and same for the New Testament. So I don't actually know that many pro-violent verses in the New Testament, so I'm a little confused about that and how they came to that conclusion. But anyways,
Jesus beating and whipping people in the temple.
yeah, that could have been, yeah. And then, like, if you interpret, yeah, there was the whole, like, tear out your eye, and so some of them were meant metaphorically. They weren't actually a call to violence, but I can see how that would be considered
Violent dialogue.
a violent dialogue. Exactly.
I guess I'm focused more on the call to violence
Yes.
than
Yes.
the recording and history of it.
Yeah.
Dude, Fred, what you're talking about is what they call Islamic chivalry. The idea that it's better to for a non-believer to die than live life as an infidel. Yeah, that is
a lot of that Muslim
Hello,
stuff.
Teresa.
A lot of that Muslim stuff is copied from the Talmud, the rabbinical stuff coming out of Babylon. It's just like instead of Jews, they turned it into Muslims.
Yes. This is often how I explain, is kind of like Islam is kind of like Judaism for the common people, because it's largely based on Talmudic rabbinical Judaism that was available at the time. It was just very difficult to get into that, and it was one of the main religions that Muhammad and stuff was exposed to, and so it's kind of based on that. Hello, Teresa.
Hello.
Hey, you joining us for the first time?
I am.
Yeah. Did you want to introduce yourself? How you learned about the Law of One or the Confederation of Planets?
I learned about the Law of One just recently. I've been watching, the videos, and I mean, I basically got the concept of Law of One being one, united, universally, all connected. So, I'm just interested in furthering my knowledge on it, and getting with my people.
Cool. Nice. All right. So we just read the first passage of Biondha from the April 22nd channeling, and then we're just about to look over the key excerpts that ChatGPT came up for us. Okay. So this entity, which those in various religions have identified as God, is, as you know, simply a label to a larger creation that one dances within. So yes, it's reframing God as not an external ruler, but an expression of the infinite creator that permeates all that is. From separation to unity, with time and with devotion, the God figure can be brought inward to look at the self. What begins as worship of an external God can evolve into the recognition that God dwells within. The spiritual journey becomes not about appeasing a deity, but rediscovering the self as a facet of the divine. Yes, and this is like in Christian mysticism, it's about inviting God to sit on the throne of your heart, for example. When the God figure becomes a tool of fear, it was easy for that creator self to be used as a stand-in for a manipulation tactic, not only to be respected, but to be feared. Biondha compassionately acknowledges how some religious structures use fear of sin, of damnation, to control rather than liberate. This distortion hides the truth that the creator is pure, unconditional love. And that's also true. And so that, any faith can be distorted by, service to self leaning people, for fear, anger, control purposes, because it's all catalyst, instead of service to others and forgiveness, love, and kindness for all beings. Okay, Eastern view, the flow without judgment. There is not this hovering source self that judges. There's simply a creation that merely exists. God is an active agent in all. Each tiny speck of matter in this illusion is creator, and how it plays with itself is that active agent. And relating to God as a personal journey, ultimately the relationship we have its own ebbs and flows, both in striving toward and understanding God's self. The creator is a creator of love, of grace, of acceptance, unconditionally so. There are no souls turned away, no souls banished, and no souls punished. Well, I don't know. I think that's a matter of perspective. Like, at least how they describe a service to self, harvest like world doesn't sound too appealing to me, because everyone is living in a constant state of fear, anger, and control, though they have chosen to do so. But it just doesn't sound as pleasant as living in a service to others world. But maybe that's a personal reflection. Does anyone else have any comments on these excerpts? Or should we move on to the next query? Okay. Oh, I see Bill's not at his seat. All right. I guess I'll read the next one too then, since Bill's not available. We are Biondha, and we thank you, my brother. Is there a final query to which we may speak through this instrument before retiring our service and moving on to the final instrument? Biondha, after the last channeling, the instrument shared that receiving your contact came with some of what sounds like turbulence. She described it, I think, as trying to lasso a bucking bronco. Can you dive into what the instrument is experiencing and why this may be occurring, and how she may balance out this experience for more steady, maybe even comfortable reception of your transmission? We are Biondha, and we are aware and appreciative of this query, my brother, especially on behalf of this instrument in particular. This turbulence she experienced at our previous 2 connection points was due in part to her own extra exercise, if you will, of discernment to a degree that made a clear and open channel between us and her harder needle to thread. There was self-judgment on her part that made for a difficult flow between us. That is one aspect to the turbulence she was experiencing. There's also the element of newness, and that there is new ground to walk, and that there is new energy to grow accustomed to. And this instrument, being one who is often change-averse, felt friction with this newness, not in a negative or fearful way, but in a way of attempting to grow more open, yet remaining ever watchful and ever humble, not attempting to put too much energy or power into the connection. We have been able to establish a more comfortable inroad between us and her, and vice versa, through the connection point of the dream state and through the continued practice of meditation that she has undergone in communion with the question asker. And so, with her continued practice of will and faith, our points of divergence, our movement through her will, become more comfortable and easier to establish. We can state that this particular meeting of seekers in this circle at this time has been markedly easier for this instrument, the only barrier being a fatigued vehicle. Is there a follow-up to this query, my brother? No, thank you. All right. Well, I'll just do the outro then. Or maybe. Yeah. No, thank you. We are Biondha, and we thank you, and we are immensely appreciative, those in the circle of seeking to welcome us, your friends, the Confederation. And at this time, we shall take our leave of the instrument to allow space for our dear friends to speak through the instrument known as Austin. We are those of Biondha. We are those of Tovo and are again with this instrument. What a joy we have experienced with you and with our brothers and sisters of Halos and Biondha. This is somewhat novel experience for us at this stage, and we cannot emphasize enough our gratitude to be invited by you upon this journey, for it is up to you, as the veiled third density creatures with emphasized free will, to make these calls and extend the hand, for we are always waiting and we are always eager to join. It is immensely beneficial to us on our journey, for this interaction presents us with a small taste of the catalyst that you are privileged to experience within your density. We look forward to witnessing the transformation and the catalyst that is brought about by our joint seeking and remain available to you for this service. At this time, we would leave the circle in light and love of the infinite creator. We are those of Tovo Adonai Vasubaragos. All right. So there you have it, folks. I don't know if there's anything you guys want to comment on that last query.
Are we moving on to the next one?
Well, there is unfortunately no next channeling session. But if there is a catalyst that someone is working on or anything you'd like to explore, we could explore that. Anybody have any ideas?
I know in Jonathan's group, recently, the past 2 weeks, we went over the 2 books that were mentioned in the Raw Contact that Raw gave 2 channeled texts.
Oh, yes.
And we just barely touched the surface in his thing. So I was wondering, what do you guys think?
So I was thinking we could do a complementary text. We could do, because I don't know if you were there, but it was mentioned by Morris's wife, Linda, that the text they were referring to was full of wisdom teachings and had no love. And it had also very little spiritual teachings. It was mostly just not really valuable for spiritual development. However, I have found another book which is valuable for spiritual development, and that is the what's it called again? I Am Word. I Am Word. Yes, I would like to. We could explore that together. Hold on.
How is this related?
How's it? It's channeled, and it's very similar to the Confederation, and it has much the same teachings that we covered in today, actually, in the Biondha channeling. And so here, I'll just share that. Oh.
Who does it channel?
Paul Selig. Here, I will just switch.
No, I mean, what social memory complex do they channel?
Oh, it's Inner Plane Guides. I Am the Word.
You said Paul Selig?
Paul Selig, that's correct.
That kind of one big guy that kind of goes into a trance and then, or whatever, then he says a lot of stuff.
Yes. He's written many books, basically, using this trance state. I mean, well, it's channeling. It's channeling, and he's gotten published, and all that. So, if we have a look here, the word, the accumulation of wonder, boulders. I don't know. Does anything resonate with this for you guys?
I'm looking for something new, some little juicy tidbits in between. I don't want to keep talking about the same thing, but maybe we'll get something new out of it.
Oh, okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Theresa.
The one you were just channeling through Biondha?
Biondha?
Biondha? Who is this?
Who is Biondha?
Yes.
So she, we covered it in the previous channeling. Here, hold on. Let me unshare screen this.
Yeah, sorry. I apologize. I just joined.
Oh no, it's
all
a
right.
new SMC being channeled by L&L Research. It's the newest one. There's 3 new ones.
Yes. So they were 4th density. And it was covered in the previous session. Channeling archives.
So they're
Here.
similar to Hatan.
Beyond yes, exactly. And then here, if we find density in here, we are mid 4th density. Yes, see, we're oh sorry, I'm not sharing the screen. I'm going to share the screen. Live stream March 28th. There we go. And we'll close this one if possible. Okay, there. We are giving this instrument the impression that we are mid 4th density cycle at this time. We are striving in this experience to learn lessons of love that extend beyond the non-boundaried confines of densities. That we feel a calling to assist those on the planet in particular to find and reestablish loving relationships with beings not only within the 3rd density but below and beyond.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're welcome. And so that is kind of their SMC, and we don't know, what planet they're from, but yeah, they're a member of the Confederation of Planets. And yeah, I know the I Am Word series that I was reading, basically it has a lot of what we just read today, where it really harps on that the divine is within you and within everything else, and love and be kind to one another, and respect other people's free will. And so it's just kind of like says that in many different ways, just like the LL research channeling.
One more question.
Go ahead.
You said the Confederation of Planets. Is this like the Galactic Federation?
No, so the Galactic Federation, I'm not sure which you're referring to, but the Confederation of Planets is the LL Research main channeling group. And actually, I have an assembly of quotes that can shed some light on that. Oh, it is not loading. Oh, that's weird. It's Age of Peace. Huh, that's strange. Hold on. I'm just ran into a technical difficulty here.
Are you referencing Bashar, Teresa?
No, but I love him. The Galactic Federation, they're supposed to be like a group of beings that are watching the Earth and kind of like security.
Oh, yes.
Turians and Palladians and...
Yes, I remember, and it was covered briefly in the Confederation channelings, and they said that in general the Galactic Federation is of mixed polarity, though there certainly are some service to self ones there as well. But I know sometimes Hatan gets channeled under the guise of Federation. So basically, there's a big difference between a federation and a confederation. So the main difference is that in a federation, you have a federal government and, like, say, a provincial or state government, and you got county government. And then the federal government is kind of like tells the lower levels what to do, and the lower levels, so you got a hierarchy. Whenever you have a hierarchy, that's a service to self organization, basically. Because service to others, which is confederation. A confederation means with. Con is with. So that means everyone is equal, because everyone is recognized as the divine.
Okay.
And so no one is above anybody else. So that's the main difference there. Here
Okay,
I have.
Get me right on that.
And the self shall rise again.
So I have a lay introduction here. Oh, hi, Rocky. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself, or if you're still figuring out the audio. Okay, so I'll read this lay introduction to the Confederation of Planets that I made. All right. So, well, greetings in love and light of the infinite creator. The age of peace has come. The first step to entering the new Eden is forgiveness, compassion, and unconditional love for all beings. The vision of the new Eden is food forest communities where all our needs can be met on site, with co-creation centers where it can make anything one can imagine, libraries of knowledge to do so, and the spiritual practices to extend our knowledge. Jesus said, "A new commandment I give to you, that ye love one another, according as I did love you, that ye also love one another. In this shall all know that ye are my disciples, if you have love one to another." John 13:34-35. Confederation plans. Kuo. Jesus was not a foolish man. He did not feel that all things were good. He felt that some things were sinful. However, he took it to a higher level in each and every case and said, "The past is past. Make a new beginning, and you are completely and utterly forgiven." Would that the voices that surrounded this entity had the same message. Much has been lost of the message because others immediately misunderstood it and felt during the time this entity was alive that this entity should become a political figure and rule a country, a physical country, the country of the 12 tribes. This, the one known as Jesus, rejected out of hand. So if the one known as Jesus was offering information about the vibration of a social memory complex, then the direction that the entities who wish to help form a social memory complex need to go is the direction of forgiveness and love, forgiveness of enemies, forgiveness of the self, and the willingness to make a new beginning. These seem finite qualities, but in the metaphysical world, they are infinite. The freedom to expand and the strength and light is complete once the soul has pierced the veil of forgetting.
Can I just jump in here and say, you just described opening the heart chakra.
Yes. Though, as the Confederation says, that isn't in itself enough, you also need to balance the lower 4 chakras. So that would include recognizing that all is well and all will be well, that God provides. And then the second ray is recognizing the divine within yourself and the people you interact with on a one-on-one relationships. And then the solar plexus chakra is recognizing divine within yourself and your family or your colleagues, people who you know well. And also neither being enslaved or becoming dominant and seeking to control others. So you have to have that, recognition of respect of free will. And then the heart chakra is about raising that to a higher level and including not just your colleagues and people that you know well, but all beings, everyone, including strangers.
So what planetary area or stellar area was Hatan originated from?
Hatan, we don't know what stellar area, but we know that they lived on a planet where they fought together until they ran out of resources, and they were down to living in caves where there was very few people left on the planet because they had destroyed all the resources in fighting war. And then at that point, they started being willing to share. And as they became willing to share with one another and to be kind to one another, they ascended to 4th density. And then they, spread out. And then some of them went over to Earth. and they want to help us to learn to love one another before we destroy our planet through excessive war.
And what's interesting about Hatan is they were the first contact group in the modern era here, and they are kind of a natural teacher for us because what they did to each other. I don't remember them. Where did it say they lived in caves? I never read that.
Well, maybe they didn't say they lived in caves, but that's the impression. That was the visual impression that I got when I was reading.
Yeah, they basically came to the end and they needed to work together to survive.
Mm.
I suppose it's kind of like, when things get really bad, you get far more kind of motivation to kind of step up, do the work.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure where those verses are. It would take me a little while to dig around to find them.
Doesn't Hatan also gives that tale of two cities, I think. If you remember that one. Or a tale of two groups.
Oh, yes. Hatan used to be really great at making these stories. They would often jump between channels and continue the same story. And yeah, they did have that tale of two cities. Did you want to share it, or did you want me to share it from your memory?
Oh, the tale of two cities is really good. I mean,
mm-hmm. So yeah, so
you can do what you want.
Okay, well, I don't have the text with me, but from what I remember, the Tale of Two Cities goes something like this. So there were two cities, and then one of them was a service to other cities, and one of them was a service to self city. And the service to other city was just living peacefully and joyfully. And then the service to self city, they wanted to fear, anger, control everybody, including the service to other city. And at some point, they decided to invade and take the resources of the service to other city. And the service to other city, they decided that they're pacifists and they're not going to fight, so they just kind of left.
I got the literature. It's May 1985.
Oh, okay.
It's May 5th, 1985.
Okay. So anyways, so let me just finish there. And so when the service to self people got to the city and it was empty, they started bickering among themselves and they ended up killing each other. And so the meek inherited the earth. So you said it was May, which year?
1985, May 5th, 1985.
1985. 0505.
Yep, 05.
Tale of Two Cities. Here we go. Did you want to read it, Bill?
Sure. I'll just start where it goes. Tom does an introduction. He goes, "Tonight we desire to share with you a tale of two cities, so to speak. The first was a city of no great size, possessed of no great abilities, neither powerful in war nor in learning, yet a place of calm and of repose for the soul. For it was the nature of these people to seek that which cannot be acquired upon the physical plane. The other city, in contrast, was composed of individuals, of people who sought and fought, who pursued their ambitions, people who attempted much and accomplished less. For in truth, their conflicts interrupted the efforts of each to acquire that which he sought or to gain that which he pursued. At this time in which these cities existed, for this was within the realm of the physical plane and time was faithfully observed, a struggle arose between those who occupied the city as seekers of the physical realm. For in finding themselves unable to subdue one another, they turned their vision outward and began to plan and to make alliances and truces and treaties so as to turn their energies to the conquest of the city of those who sought within the spiritual realm. The day came, the banners were unfurled, the marchers went forward, the troops were formed for the assault, and in great excitement they stormed that city, only to find that this city was unoccupied. The treasures they sought were present, but seemed somehow tarnished, in that no struggle occurred, no fear was sparked, no cowardice displayed. Only the treasures of the physical world remained behind in this strangely abandoned city. In their dismays, they scouted throughout the area, attempting to find any of the former occupants of the city that they might question them or perhaps abuse them in some manner so as to make this conquest somehow more appropriate or enjoyable. Yet they found no one. Finally, they began to argue among themselves. The arguing became more bitter, more angry, and the anger sparked the violence which had been delayed too long. And so they fought and, for the most part, slew one another with pleasure, with satisfaction. And those who remained after the battle loaded what treasure they could remove from their fallen enemies, their former allies, and returned to their homes. And my brothers, each in this story was able to achieve that which he had sought. For those who followed this path of taking and of violence managed to attain the violence which they had sought and to take, each from another in satisfaction. Those of the abandoned city also found fulfillment, for they were able, as was their wont, to peacefully offer what gifts, what possessions they possessed to their brothers of the more violent city by simply leaving behind that which they themselves no longer could value, but knew would be valuable to the invaders. And each, my friends, followed their path successfully. The difference then would lie simply in the direction of their paths. For those of that city, which might be termed service to self, chose a circuitous path which would circle repeatedly back in upon itself, rebounding from its contact with others as they would progress outward, find their pain, acquire their minor treasures, and return whence they came. While those of the city, which might be termed service to others, acquired those gifts which had been provided, made use of those gifts to the extent which they were useful, then left them behind for their brothers, and proceeded outward on a path which had no return, only progression. My brothers, we are of the path of service to others. It is of our choice. It is apparent to those who seek to follow this path that others more readily accept a different path, that of service to self. It is appropriate to be of what assistance one may to our brothers of the service to self polarity. For as you know, such service can only be assistance to both you and they. Yet it is not necessary for all to lay down their lives for the whims of those who seek pleasure in the taking of life and the destruction of that which we call good. My brothers, in times ahead, travels will come to each of you and difficult choices will need to be made. In your illusion, there are many examples of what may be termed nobility, common sense, or even the right thing to do. But my brothers, remember that confusion might be termed the dominant theme within your illusion, and that nobility, which stems from confusion, may not always be the most beneficial choice for those concerned. Therefore, my friends, look to your heart for guidance and not to conventional wisdom, for it is within your heart and not your mind that the course of your desire will be revealed. At this time, we relinquish our use of this instrument, that our brothers and sisters of Latwii might perform their service of answering questions. Adonai, my friend. Adonai Vasu Baragas. I am known to you as Adon.
Yes, very good. Thank you. Yes, I know we have a bunch of new people. Rocky, Christy, Grace, Lisa. Did you guys have any comment on this story? Anybody?
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Rocky.
Hey. It's not really.
Okay. Fair enough.
Hi, thanks for the shout out. Lovely story. I went through it a little quickly. I would love to read that again at some point. And I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted with a toddler. I apologize.
It's okay. I know how that is.
So I don't even remember what my comment or question was. I'm just here to keep learning and growing, and thank you.
Wonderful. Glad to be of service.
Same for me. I'm just grateful to be here and hearing more and learning more. And I did have one question. Adam had put an email in the chat, the redcordchanneling@gmail.com. So that's the email address for Hatan. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just confused.
I'm not.
Sorry, that was there for me. That was there for me. Sorry, that was a different thing. That was earlier on. Sorry.
Okay. No, that's okay. I'm glad I clarified. Awesome. Thank you so much. Grateful
I
to.
was supposed to email them the other day, and I'm rubbish at this stuff. So Adam was helping me a lot. Thank you.
Just grateful to see everybody here tonight. Awesome. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. This is the Unity of Love and Light and Law of One Facebook group, channeling group, which it was started by Desiree, but she stepped away, and then I've been kind of doing it for a year or more. I'm not sure exactly how long.
It's well longer than a year, man. Well longer than a year. You, me, and Fred have basically been here every Friday for probably 2 years now.
Okay, cool.
Don't you think?
Thanks.
Like, come on, just thinking back, dude. We've been doing this for a long, long time, man.
Yes, fair. So I've got an AI analysis of that story with excerpts of the key passages, and my computer's just a little.
I like the
frozen
little
right now.
art.
Yeah, it's cute, eh? Okay. So, two cities, ambition versus stillness. Okay, sorry guys, I'm just having a little. Okay. So they pursued their ambitions, attempted much, and accomplished less. That was the second city, and it was the nature of these people to seek that which cannot be acquired upon the physical plane. It's kind of like that reminds me of that, like, nation of priests. That's what God wanted in the Old Testament.
Can I just say, I'm getting full on Tartaria vibes. Just saying.
What's Tartaria?
Yeah, the whole conspiracy theory that there was a huge country that's been wiped out of the history books. You go back to 1700s, a large chunk of Russia was called Tartaria.
Yeah, I've followed some stuff on that. I don't know a lot about it, but a couple of years ago, I started getting into that.
So the whole last reset, the mud flood, and all that stuff, man. Like, another one of the many, many conspiracy theories that are challenging history.
Well,
but what you gonna do?
The Mongolian Empire in Russia, it was always called Mongoli Tatari, because
that would make sense. Tatari, right?
Yes, because
apparently, according to this, that they had electricity. With the whole idea of where you get how a cathedral was built is all Tartarian. All this other stuff. Look it up, man. There's quite a lot to it.
Cool. Well, I've never heard of that.
Yes, some people think it goes all the way down to Spain, because a lot of our history is like totally been revised, especially from like the Jesuits and the other power groups that they just erased a lot.
Well, there's also the Russian history, and which wasn't influenced by the Catholics at all.
Power on. Bluetooth.
But anyways, let's get back to the Tale of Two Cities, since that's kind of what we're here for. And so each group achieved its intended aim. And nobility, which stems from confusion, may not always be the most beneficial choice. Look at your heart for guidance. Not conventional wisdom. Okay. Summary. Because it's a little confusing without the summary of the story.
Could you ask DBT to compare the Tale of Two Cities to the conspiracy theory of surrounding Tartaria?
Okay, compare the Tale of Two Cities to the conspiracy theory of Tartaria. Include also the table comparison. Yes, this is the high-tech Confederation channeling group. All right, so let's see what it's got. Okay, the Tale of Two Cities, an allegorical narrative illustrating two spiritual paths, service to others and service to self. One city embodies inner peace and spiritual good. Tartaria, a conspiracy theory suggesting a vast, advanced global civilization, often to have existed in Russia or Asia, was deliberately erased from history, posits secret technologies, free energy, and cover up by mainstream institutions. Okay, so
And if I'm right, it was the mud floods, right?
Yeah.
Right, Ed? The mud floods, right? And it's all under, it's the city underneath the city we have now, kind of thing.
Yeah, like loads of cities going on the 2 floors down. Like the road used to be 2 stories down.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Sorry to jump in there. I'm gonna.
Oh, it's all good. No, please. We enjoy your contributions.
I appreciate so much of this. This is so fantastic. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you, Adam, for putting the notice in the messenger chat. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, everyone. So grateful to be here.
We like it when people turn up. It's fun.
Yeah. So the common threads here, sense of loss or departure, both describe something hidden, lost, or misunderstood. A spiritual city that vanishes, or a civilization wiped from memory. Search for meaning. Each narrative speaks to the human desire for answers, whether through mythical surrender or uncovering hidden truths. Choice and free will. Implicitly or explicitly, both frameworks present the idea that individuals must choose how to respond to uncertainty. So there you have it. I don't know if there's...
Can we go back to just the AI, what they said about the Tale of Two Cities?
Okay, sure. Just about the Tale of Two Cities. All right. Is there a particular part that resonates with you here?
No, just whatever you want to go over.
Okay. Well, because I already did go over it.
Okay.
There wasn't anything that really popped out at me. Look to your heart for guidance and not to conventional wisdom. Yes, that was a good.
And one good thing they said was that you don't have to be noble or do something to like just give up your life to satisfy the service to self people. I mean, they just basically said kind of retreat, give them what you got and just get out of their way. Instead of becoming this martyr or this warrior against them,
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, did you think that would work in real life?
Well, what I can say from Russian history is that this was very, very common strategy in Russia since the invasion by Sweden. And it was called the scorched earth strategy. Basically, what they would do is they would retreat and they would burn all of the cities and stuff so that there would be no way for the Swedish to resupply their forces. And the actual people would just go off into the woods and hide in caches.
So burn all their cities.
So they burnt their villages. Yes.
Okay, because what happened to Tartaria? Where did it go?
Right. So, well, it's just that most of these invasions were on the eastern part of Russia, right? Like Ukraine, basically. It was Ukraine. It was just it was Russia at the time for most of history. And
Well,
so,
didn't they also say that Sweden built Russia a lot because they were looking for a waterway to the like the Black Sea, from Sweden. So they would go on these rivers through Russia, and whenever the river stopped, they would create a town, and then they'd catch the next river and create a town there. So they said the Swedes, in fact, built a lot of that Russia, from the North Sea, I guess, where the Swedish came to where they can get the gold from Istanbul or Byzantium, or whatever it was called, Constantinople, because that's what the Swedes wanted. They were fur traders, and they caught fur, and then they traded for that Constantine gold, but they created a civilization there.
So I think I know what you're referring to, and Russian history is considered, they're called the Varangians. And basically it is the beginning of Russian history, where the tribe of Rus was invited because basically the people of Novgorod, which was kind of like near St. Petersburg, were living there, but they would keep getting raided by the people from eastern Sweden. And they were like, okay, how about you just guys come over here and rule over us and then protect us from further raids. And then actually Novgorod, they had like some dispute, and you were usually a city that had no ruler, but when they had a dispute, they would invite a foreign ruler to come and resolve their dispute, and then they would kick them out after. And so they invited this guy Rurik, who was the head of the tribe of Rus, and Rus means row. They were rowers because they had boats. They like to row. And so he brought his whole tribe over, and then he resolved the dispute. And it was near Lake Ladoga. And then they kicked him out because, well, he had finished. And so he traveled south and I think he they got to Kiev. And then Kiev became the home of Rus or Russia. And then there's a long and storied history, but basically, as it turns out, genetically speaking, the Rus were not actually Swedish, but were Russian, in terms of that they were descendants of reindeer herders. Go ahead, Ed.
End up killing each other in those crazy, horrible ways.
I don't know what you're referring to there, Ed.
The Rus, they took control. They had a huge area of Russia, but they separated it out into different family members would have a different area.
Oh, the princedoms. Yes. So basically, after Mstislavic, he had like 14 sons or something, and so he gave each of his, instead of having one son inherit all of the land, he gave each of them a little portion of it. And they ended up just fighting over it for centuries. And so that was kind of like the end of Kievan Rus. But then the Vladimir Suzdal became kind of the new capital, and then they raided Kiev and they took the crown or whatever.
That part is like the Tale of Two Cities with the service itself. The scorched earth isn't like the Tale of Two Cities, because in this one they left the stuff behind.
Yes.
Where they did the same thing with Napoleon. When Napoleon invaded Russia, they burned everything, and that's why they had to retreat.
But Moscow, for example, they didn't burn Moscow to the ground. They just took most of the food. They left the treasure.
Napoleon
still got a lot.
Yes.
I thought Napoleon never made it to Moscow. Okay.
Napoleon did make it to Moscow. Napoleon made it to Moscow, but all of the food was gone, but there was still the gold. The gold was still there. So the treasure, the Tale of Two Cities is very much like Napoleon invading Moscow, and the Moscow was empty. and they were like, "What is this?" And actually, I think there's this thing here, Napoleon March map, and he started with like a huge amount of people,
Right.
and then it ended up very few. Here, let me see if I can get a zoom in on this. I don't know. Oh, unfortunately, they're not legible here. Oh, source. Nope, page not found. Okay, well, if we could get a bigger version of this, here, maybe I could find filters.
I can Google it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can ask Grok. Okay, hold on. You know what? Because we have Grok here. I mean, not Grok, ChatGPT. Okay. Compare Tale of Two Cities and Napoleon March on Moscow. Also say how many soldiers he started with and how many he ended with.
Yeah, it says right here on Wikipedia, between 430,000 to 500,000 were invaded, and about 410,000 were lost, dead, wounded, or deserted.
Yes. So here,
they lost, 80%, 90% of their force.
Yeah. According to ChatGPT, they started with 600,000 and ended with 10 to 30,000.
Yeah, it said total military and civilian deaths was 1 million.
Yeah, and apparently, half of that was just Napoleon's army.
Right.
Yeah. So here's the comparison. So Napoleon's march on Moscow led a massive French army into Russia with the aim of forcing Tsar Alexander to capitulate. After many battles, they reached Moscow, only to find it abandoned and set ablaze by the Russians. With no clear victory and winter approaching, the retreat turned catastrophic.
Okay.
All right. So just as the invaders of the Tale of Two Cities sought treasure but found only spiritual emptiness and eventual ruin, Napoleon's army found the physical conquest could not replace deeper understanding, respect for the land, or the humility that preserves one's path. Both serve as cautionary tales, one mythic and the other historic, about the pearls of ego-driven ambition and the elusive nature of control. True power, both suggest, may lie not in conquering others, but in knowing when to walk a path of surrender and understanding.
That's a
I
good
just say, man, killed like 500,000 people easy.
Yeah.
Yes.
About 10 years ago, I ran across this story where they were making a parking lot in like Lithuania, and when they were digging it up, they just found all these dead guys, and they were all just frozen Russian soldiers. So they're still digging them up.
In Lithuania?
Yeah, in Lithuania. Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. Oh, well, I saw Grace had her hand up. Grace, did you want to say something?
Yes, thank you, Andrii. When I was listening to those numbers being read of like the 600,000 that was started out with and then what was ended up with, what came to mind for me was that's a really significant, I feel like, I don't know if I'm accurate, maybe I guess I'm looking for some input, but what came to me was that's a really significant number of losses, considering that maybe perhaps back then, like what's the Earth's population right now? Like 8 billion, right? So I'm thinking like back then there may have not, the Earth was probably not as populated as it is now in today's numbers. So that's just what came to me, and I wanted to share it. That's all. It doesn't mean anything.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're right. That proportionally, and actually, this March of Napoleon significantly reduced the average height of people in France because Napoleon took the tallest men he could find. Here.
No, but Grace is right. That death count would be significant for back then. And especially with Napoleon and all the revolution and stuff before that.
Yeah. So ChatGPT is saying that in 1812, France had 44 million people and Russia had 43 million people. Yeah. The height of the French
Power on.
increased.
Bluetooth pairing.
Okay. Yes. So, did we want to delve deeper into this or find another thing? We still got 20 minutes. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to explore? Or I can continue.
Proportion of the planet.
Sorry.
Yeah. What you're saying. Yeah. Like, you had a bit of Revelations where it says like a massive proportion of the people on the planet are going to die. Could it be like?
Oh, well,
kind of time.
Yes, but we don't know if and when and how many. Okay, Grace, you had a question?
Yes, thank you, Andrew. I feel like I've asked this question before in the past, but I haven't been to this particular meeting in quite some time. These readings, the Hatan readings, are also on LL Research. Is that correct? And the quo, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just wanted to confirm. Thank you so much, because this is really good stuff. I'm loving this. Thank you.
And I just wanted to clarify, my name is not Andril, but Andrei.
Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. Can you pronounce it for me again?
Andrei.
Andrei. Thank you, Andrei. I appreciate you correcting me. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A lot of people think it's Andril, so don't worry about it. Yeah.
I got it for ages.
Okay. Anyhow, so I did have the continuation of this introduction to the Confederation of Planets since Teresa was asking about it. Okay, so we read the first quote, and here's the second. Okay.
Hey, Andrii, real quick.
Okay,
just to tell Grace, Grace, what I did is I just went to the L&L Research, did the Q, the search, and I just pressed in Tale of Two Cities, and it came right up.
So it looks like this. And when it loads, I'll be able to show you how it works. Tale of Two Cities. And then you can see.
Right there.
There you go. Tale of Two Cities.
Oh, this is incredible. Thank you so much. I so appreciate everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep, welcome. All right. So let's try this one. So Hatan, we of the Confederation of Planets state that we are of the same dimensional existence as this great teacher. They're talking about Jesus Christ. Yet we do not claim right to his accomplishments, for we must acknowledge that the great teacher known as Jesus was the one of the greatest teachers whom you have encountered. And he is still present upon your planet in the form of consciousness and residing over the spiritual vibrations which are channeled to the people of planet Earth. He is your assigned teachers, and we are his assigned helpers. This is our claim. Accept it if you will. But remember, my friends, the story we have told you of the love of the teacher Jesus. Love, my friends, is what is important. With it, you may discern the truth. Know the love that you possess, learn to understand this, and through the knowledge that you shall find the capacity to channel the abilities contained within the love. At that time, my friends, once you have mastered the concept of love, my friends, once you have understood this concept, then shall you not only be capable of achieving that which the great teacher Jesus demonstrated for us. Then shall you not also be capable of achieving that which the great teacher demonstrated of us. And yes, I mean, Jesus did say, you will accomplish all that I did and greater things. And then this is the one that's... Go ahead.
Yeah, have you heard it? Like, correct me if you haven't heard it. I should make myself. Okay, so aliens come and land on Earth, and they say, yeah, we want to meet all of your spiritual leaders. We want to kind of speak to you all. And then, the Pope turns up, and, the Pope's like, do you accept Jesus into your heart? And he's like, yeah, we love Jesus. Yeah, he comes around to our planet every 10 years or so. We all give him cakes and say thanks. And he's like, he's an amazing guy. We all love him. So what did you guys do when he came to your planet?
Yeah, for sure. I know exactly what you mean. All right. So anyhow, so this is the defining quote of the Confederation from the Law of One, which is the most authoritative source according to most people. I am the one raw. I am one of the members of the Confederation of Planets in the service of the Infinite Creator. There are approximately 53 civilizations comprising approximately 500 planetary consciousness complexes, or the SMCs, in this confederation. This confederation contains those from your own planet who have attained dimensions beyond your third. It contains planetary entities within your solar system, and it contains planetary entities from other galaxies. It is a true confederation in that its members are not alike, but allied in service according to the law of one. And that's from session 6, question 24.
Did they say I am Ra on that one, or just they started speaking?
Oh, well, I don't know. You want, we can check. But
because I've just started to realize when they don't say I am Ra, I take those as like questionable. Like, yeah, that it's probably got numbers in the question or something.
Yeah, well, yeah, it doesn't say I am Ra. So you could question it if you want, and I respect your free will, but it works for me. Grace, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's a really great question. I didn't notice the lack of the I am Ra until you pointed out, Adam, that was you, right? I thought I heard your voice.
Yes.
So
yes.
Thank you. So this could that mean then that this is like another entity?
It's a very unlikely.
Possible. Okay. So
Yeah.
So what? So
it's
just I would just say whenever they're saying they don't say I am Ra, it could be a distorted answer. So it's
right.
They're trying to be as most accurate as possible, but sometimes when they don't do the anchoring, it can come out to be like whatever resonates.
Okay. Oh, that's really helpful. Thank you so much, Adam, and thank you, Andrea. I so appreciate that. Thank you.
Like we can see in the same session here, the last 3 answers, he didn't say I am Ra. So this instrument is balanced due to your care. However, her physical vehicle is growing stiff. I mean, this was just like a statement of fact. We shall agree, therefore, unless you have a short question, we will take our leave. And this is correct and completes the number. And then it says, I am Ra. I leave you in the love and light of the Infinite Creator. Go forth rejoicing in the power and peace of the Infinite Creator. Adonai. So he sometimes says I am Ra, and sometimes he doesn't. I don't personally consider it to be particularly meaningful. But you can if you wish. And that's up to you.
Well, I just read the beginnings. What do you call it? The commentary, and when the first time they realized a session where Ra didn't say I am Ra a bunch, it's because they were asking transient material. So like from then on, they realize whenever they don't say I am Ra, it's like also a sign that it's very transient too.
It might be transient. Yes, and it was. You know what? That is a good pointing out, because that it was indeed transient information, because the number of entities in the Confederation may be in flux. It may be changing over time. It may not be 53. It may be 54 by now. Who knows? Or 55. I don't know how often they get new members or how many social memory complexes join and stuff like that. And then also here, when it says this instrument is balanced due to your care, however physical is growing stiff, that is also transient information, because that is only particular to that piece of time. That is not an eternal thing. So yes, so there's validity to what Adam is saying there. Okay, so there's another aspect of this introduction to the Confederation that I saw fit to include earlier. So 12.3, is there?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Andrii.
Yeah.
Or Andre.
Yes, you're welcome. Yes. I'm glad to be of service. Is there any effort by the Confederation to stop the Orion chariots from arriving here? Every effort is made to quarantine this planet. However, the network of guardians, much like any other pattern of patrols or whatever level, does not hinder each and every entity from penetrating quarantine. And the reason I included this was because Guardians is the name that the U.S. Space Force calls themselves. So that's kind of like a nod to this particular quote from the Law of One. Armor of Light. When pre-incarnative choice has given to you difficulty, have faith that you are a spirit advanced enough to participate in your own density. That occurrences do not happen simply by chance, that the seeming poverty, the seeming limitation, the seeming difficulty, the seeming illness is also a forthright aid in setting up a circumstance in which a lesson of love can be learned under adverse conditions. Yours is the last density with truly adverse conditions for the positive or service to others oriented person. Only in this density, the density of choice, does this occur. Know then that that which is in front of you is not more than you can work with. It is not that which defeats. You would not program that for yourself, but you are stretching yourself because you wish to change. You wish to become even more polarized in love and service to the Creator and others than you are now. There may be a lesson to learn. There may be a part of service that you chose that you could not be achieved in any other way, given the uniqueness of your person, the uniqueness of your character. Consequently, there are illnesses, limitations, and what seems to be a grinding and degrading poverty that may be seen only in a spiritual sense as challenges rather than difficulties, as chances to learn rather than sentences of condemnation. And so there are many, many hosts of those in the service of the infinite creator. We ourselves are in the service of the infinite creator and have formed a confederation in order to do just that what we are doing now, to speak to those who desire whatever knowledge we may have to share. These forces of light, of whom we count ourselves an humble and unworthy number, stand, as it has been said in your holy works, in the armor of light. We are given the power first from the Creator, who is beyond light and darkness, and from whom we derive love. Secondly, from those upon your planet who are praying, meditating, and living to be loving, sincere, understanding, and valuing the good and beautiful. So what you guys are doing here matters, and it's making a difference. We face those of us on the physical and the etheric and the forces which derive their substance from the belief and separation from the Creator and from each other. Unfortunately, many of your peoples, their tempers sharpened through many, many generations of wars and territorial arguments, contribute to the negative quality of the forces of darkness. Anger, intense frustration, and the negative emotions associated with greed and envy add also to the aid that the etheric thought forms that are forces of darkness may draw upon, and so the battle plan stands arrayed. But whereas we have one Creator to guide us and one great truth to sustain us, the forces of darkness will always be scattered, for they do not trust one another, but wish only to have power over one another as well as over all else. Therefore, as soon as enough of the people of your planet can stand behind us who are merely messengers of light, the battle gallantly joined will be over for this harvest, and the harvest will be complete, and those who stood in the light will avail themselves of that light. We feel very positive about the coming of this harvest, for it pleases us that many have turned to the light and to the love to seek understanding. Even as the world seems to polarize itself more and more to negativity and separation, yet you will find more and more of those people whom you personally know beginning to seek in some form of spiritual truth the light and the love of the Father. Thus this battle, whatever occurs upon your plane, has already been joined, and it is fought with the heart and minds and the spirits of mankind, not with their physical bodies. This is a great lesson to learn. 1980, 1207. All right. What did you guys think of that?
Oh my God, that was so powerful. So powerful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that too. Like that's like one of the most powerful quotes in the contact, I think. And it just really reminds me of like that, every time you sit down and you have a moment of gratitude or you're doing some meditation, or you say something kind to someone, or even if you're just sitting in meditation and you find yourself in a fearful place, and then you decide, hey, you know what, I can connect with the infinite creator and find the love in this moment, find the spark of love behind that fear. And then instead of being, say, afraid of someone leaving, I can be grateful that they're here. And can be grateful, and then just go into that love and raise that love vibration. And you are helping the forces of light conquer the darkness in the world. You know, every service is of equal value, no matter how small. And they are all of benefit to the creation. Every service done in love is of benefit to the whole of the creation. All right. And yeah, Grace, go ahead.
Thank you. I really love the last paragraph. So whatever occurs upon your plane has already been joined and is fought. So with the hearts and the minds and the spirits of mankind, not with their physical bodies. So this is really beautiful to me. It's really resonating with me. Because, you know, since being on my, you know, becoming like a spiritual seeker over the last, like, you know, since about 2018, I guess, 17, these are the messages that have been coming to me. These are the things that have been coming to me. It's like, you know, it's the thought is where the creation is, right? And thought is silent, right? And what I always remember is, and I saw on your screen there, Andrii, you had the Bible, like a portal. I can't remember what it was called, but so I always remembered about you know, King Solomon's temple, how it was built in silence, right? There was no noise. You could not hear. I'm not going to say it word for word, but you know, the walls, everything was built, and it was all in silence. Well, where do I build in silence? I build in silence in my mind. That the quiet thought is quiet. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you so much. I appreciate you indulging me. Thank you.
You're
Thank
totally
you, Andrii.
right. Yes, what we do in our mind and our spirit is extremely powerful, because the physical world is an illusion that is a manifestation of what we accomplish in the spiritual realm. So it reflects it. And that's why when you resolve the spiritual causes of a disease, then often the physical manifestations will also fade away. All right, here's one more little section. Awaken to the difficult manifestations of this illusion and move into those patterns that are so painful, and with a stout heart and a full
You should
armor
just
of light.
jumped in, dude.
What? Bill wanted to say something?
Yeah, he was like, he's like,
oh, sorry, I didn't
say,
see his...
You should just jump in, Bill, man.
Okay.
You know,
Well,
this group, man.
No, I just wanted to remind everyone that, like, when Carla and those guys had real difficulties, you know, Ra always told them at the end, just goes, hey, if worse comes to worse, basically, there's always praise and thanksgiving. And I know you were talking about gratitude, but, you know, when we're really up against it, that's what I always do, is I go into praise and thanksgiving, you know, the creator and the creation.
Yes, for sure. It's extremely powerful. Especially if you're having a negative greeting or anything of that sort. Okay, so
well, it's actually a way out.
Yes, exactly. Because as soon as the negative entity feels that it's being of service to you, and that happens when you are genuinely grateful for its presence, because you're like, oh, well, spirituality is real. I know, because look at this. And like, thank you so much, you know, for giving me this intense experience. And then it just has to flee, because it needs to maintain 95% service to self-polarity. It can't be doing something that's good for someone else. Otherwise, it'll depolarize. All right.
Beam love at them, man. Just beam love at them.
Exactly.
The more negative they are, the more like love just burns them like fire. It's a wonderful thing.
Yes. Awaken to the difficult manifestations of this illusion and move into those patterns that are so painful with a stout heart and a full armor of light and love. And you shall do very simple things, and shall love, and shall not hear, and shall not be affected. And if necessary and possible, you shall walk away. One who seeks to control others deals with indifference quite poorly, and indeed becomes helpless before a persistent and continued indifference. As the storm rages about you, we urge you to gather to yourself your birthright and to be who you really are, children of love, children of the one infinite creator of all things. Love one another, my children. This is the greatest wisdom that we know. 1990-06-17. And then
Once
there's
again,
another great...
beautiful quotes, man. Where are you getting these? These are like, have you gone through and just been like, the most lovely quotes on LL Research?
Yes, this is based on a 4-page flyer that I give people as an introduction to the Confederation. The greatest wisdom that you shall ever learn in your density at this time is that you cannot know anything for certain, so may as well love all.
I like that one. Because that kind of sums up the whole kind of philosophical death thing.
Yes.
Jump in, Grace. Seriously.
Go ahead, Grace.
I'm talking a lot. I just so where if it's possible, Andrii,
I can put in the link. Yeah.
this would be for this is specifically what we've been reading since I've come on. There's so much wonderful stuff in here that I have a very dear spiritual fellow traveler of mine that I want to share with. This is everything that you're reading now is all stuff that we were talking about today, the time that I was spending with her. So I just feel the alignment, and I can't, if you could, I would so appreciate it if you could put the link in the chat.
Yes.
Thank you,
sure,
Andrii. Okay.
Can I just say, this group right here is kind of notorious for like synchronicities all tying in. Like it used to happen all the time, Andrii, wouldn't it? Like every week, something crazy would happen that is just it's synchronistically perfect. So, welcome to the group.
Yes. Well, I think as we grow, closer to the creator, synchronicities just become more common aspects of our life because we're doing more meditation and we are listening more acutely to the still small voice of the spirit. And so we're getting those premonitions and then we're seeing them occur in our life. And also, like, as we become more polarized service to others, as you do service for others, the creation wants to serve you. And so the things that you desire and do want, even at a small level, they appear and they are granted because it's part of the balancing.
But this happens in ways where we're not expecting it.
Yes.
If you give into acceptance rather than expectations, then the universe really opens up.
Yes.
100%, dude.
Mm-hmm. Because, and then it's open. It's important to be open-minded because sometimes things arise and in our first impression, just because we're used to kind of judging things at a first glance, or like when things are new, they may seem a little bit fearful or something like this. But, just rest in that wellness and that openness and see the silver lining, the opportunity that has been granted. And
nonetheless, the love.
Yes.
And if you fully surrender, the universe will give you way greater than you'll ever expect. Because the universe wants us to succeed, wants us to come to the love, and it literally, in a lot of ways, knows best for us.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Rocky, you want to say something?
No, I agree, Bill. That's true. And you'll know when you're aligned with spirit. Like when spirit's working through you and that energy is flowing through you, you'll see. Besides synchronicities, you also start to see the alignment of things happening. And then you'll kind of remember when you were kind of manifesting that and now seeing it into fruition, like when the manifestation's taking place. So what happens is like you're thinking about it, you're processing it, you're manifesting it. And then there's no timeline. So as long as you're not attached to it and you detach from it, you'll start to see it play out. And when it's playing out, then you could recognize it and saying, okay, I am now present in the manifestation that I was working on maybe months ago, right? It's happening now. And you put yourself in a space of gratitude and acknowledge that this is happening. And you're saying, okay, I'm grateful, universe. I acknowledge that I see this happening that I've been thinking about and processing and manifesting. And the state of gratitude always ends up bringing in more of what you've been manifesting prior.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I like your night ears, Ed. Your nighttime.
Oh yeah, his cat ears.
Cat ears.
Yes. So and then just I'm noticing here Adam in the YouTube comments said, so no Trinity, just love. And then I just wanted to share, I had when I was first like coming to Christianity, I was like trying to understand this whole Trinity concept. And so I had a few visions on it. And so one of them kind of really helped me understand, well, how could work for me. My understanding is, so there's the you are the Christ, and then the Holy Spirit indwells within you, and then God is everything around you. And so it is kind of like because and that's compatible with the Confederation, because we are channeling source. Instead of doing things of our own accord, we have to, to achieve our highest good, we have to connect with the divine and kind of let that divine flow through us. And that's also what the inner plane guides say in, like, say, Paul Siegel's I Am the Word series. Go ahead, Ed.
Okay, so the way I see it in a more law of one sense is the fact of the Trinity at the top of the Hermetic tree. Yeah, Ra talks about it loads. Yeah, power, love, wisdom. Yeah, that right there is what fourth density is all about. It's about us learning that Trinity there. Yeah,
power, love, wisdom.
So yeah, power being the sun, the God being the love. Yeah, and wisdom being the Mother Mary, or like the Holy Spirit, whichever way you want to play it. So you get Father, Son, Holy Ghost, right? So, but that right there is power, love, wisdom. So that's the same thing that we're trying to play out right now on Earth, in law of one terms, because that is a very, very powerful little Trinity there. Because you might have all of the power in the whole world, but without understanding, which is this bottom path here, to get to wisdom, then you're only ever going to destroy things and just be negatively polarized, Whereas wisdom has gotten absolute pointless without power. So there has to be a point in the middle somewhere that balances understanding. That point is love. That it will always be the central point of all of the different trinities for every single thing, because God is love. There is nothing but love. Right now, externalizing God as something different from you is different. Have you seen that picture of the Trinity where it's got the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost? Yeah, and it's got not the Spirit, not the Father, not the Son. Yeah, and then in the middle, it's got God. It's got an arrow to all of them, because God is everything. There is nothing different. There's no separation. There's no duality. We are that in its entirety. And right now, power, love, wisdom is God, the Holy Spirit, and the Son. That is what it is. That is what we're playing out here. Very real sense. This is my opinion. Yeah, mind, body, spirit. Yeah, but the mind, body, spirit would be equivalent to spiritus, corpus, and animus, which is the same mind, body, spirit. It's the same Trinity.
And we're just trying to break out of the illusion and figure out that what's happening isn't really real, and that all there is the Creator and oneness and His love, or its love.
Yes. So here, I'm making this table. I'm not sure how accurate it is. Okay, well, but this is what Robo Ra is claiming. So here, Confederation Trinity and Christian Trinity. So we got the first aspect, power, the raw force of the creation associated with will and divine order. Father, the creator, omnipotent, transcendent source of all being. Second aspect, love, the unifier associated with logos and the desire to serve and connect. Son, Jesus Christ, embodiment of the divine love and sacrifice, the Redeemer. Third aspect, wisdom, balance of love and power, giving love through discernment and clarity. Holy Spirit, inspirer and sustainer, bringing divine presence and guidance. And the functional of the Trinity metaphysical model for spiritual development and cosmic structure, doctrine expressing one God in three persons. Goal, integrate and harmonize the self to achieve unity with the infinite creator, achieve salvation and union with God through relationship and transformation, balance the evolution through internal transformation and service to others, relationship, grace, and divine love through self, magician, power, priestess, love, hierophant, wisdom, from the archetypal mind. Okay. All right. Does that help? Grace, go ahead.
Thank you so much. This is this is really so these aspects here, words of love, power, wisdom. It's what it's reminding me of, and I love the way that it's broken down and listed. It feels very I'm going to say user friendly, right? So I also read. I don't know if anyone, you're probably familiar with Emmett Fox. He delves into like the 7 main aspects of God, and it's also his teachings are also very in line with the what's being read here tonight, the Law of One. So that's also part of my spiritual practice are his readings, and this is just really broken down so beautifully. I can't wait to share the list there with my friends, because her mind's going to be blown. So thank you so much. This is fantastic. I'm having a blast. I'm so grateful to be here.
Great. Glad to be of service.
When I look at love, power, and wisdom, we're always trying to, it's the fourth, fifth, and sixth density, or fourth and fifth density, and then sixth density is unity. But what you're always doing is you're balancing love and wisdom, and then once you can balance that, then you balance that with power. And a lot of times we really don't understand what power is, and the power is actually the power and your ability to serve and how you want to serve. So you balance love and wisdom, and then you go into how are you going to serve? How are you going to use that power? That's how I look at it.
Thank you, Bill. Good way of doing it, dude. Also, the other way of looking at it is the masculine and the feminine. So, like the power is the outward force, whereas the wisdom and the chokma is the inward force. So one is, you serve, you do things. Like you said, the power is in the service. That's the outward force, right? Whereas the receiving and the learning the wisdom of how to use that power is the masculine, is the feminine. Anyway, yeah, go. Sorry, Andrii, jump in.
Okay, so I got a smarter version of ChatGPT to look at this. And so compare and contrast here. So love, based on the actual verses, because I got all the verses that had power, love, wisdom from the Confederation contact, and I got it to put it together. And so love is fourth density vibration, is the primal open-hearted acceptance that sees the creator in all things. It is the motive force behind positive polarity, the unconditional desire to embrace and heal. And I'd also like to add that this is the prerequisite for graduating service to others into fourth density. So this is all you need, assuming you have like that at each of the 4 base chakras. And then wisdom is a fifth density vibration, light. It is the clarifying discernment that illumines experiences and choosing the most skillful path. It refines love so that compassion does not become naive or indiscriminate. So because love without wisdom often leads to martyrdom. Power, sixth density outcome, sometimes called love light or light love, is the coherent will that arises only when love and wisdom are in dynamic equilibrium. It enables effective service without infringing free will. Seeking power prematurely without that balance skews into control or self-aggrandizement. Neglecting power wastes potential for service. So I'd like to say it as wisdom balanced by love. And here's the comparison table. So it's like love is heart rate, and wisdom is blue ray, and power is indigo ray. And so and then here's the updated. So it's still father is power, and son is love, and spirit is wisdom. Okay. And hey, Dan, you're here too.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Happy to be here. Happy to be
Good.
here. Thank you.
Did you have any commentary on this particular?
I'm still trying to catch up and understand what we're talking about.
The triad and the trinity, apparently. All right, but I know it's past 9 o'clock. So I was just going to round up. Was there any final queries or anything someone would like to say before I end this stream?
What are you gonna work on next week, you think?
We'll see if there's a new session released, and if there isn't, I guess we can continue reading that intro flyer and whatever else people come up with that they want to explore. Yeah. Was there anything in particular anyone wanted to explore next week?
There's one topic I want to explore, and it's the what do they say that when you are, guys, it's like in section 16 raw. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Well,
I forget.
Yes.
One topic
feel free to
cover.
Yeah, don't worry. Just bring it next time, and I'm sure we'll get some time, and we'll explore that. All right. So as I found you, I leave you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the infinite creator, the one within you and all around you, my friends. Adonai Vasubaragas. Okay.